Okay, so working on my playlist, who wouldn't be happy? Grow Your Own Food, May 22nd of 2017. I started working in the yard in April because my landlady asked me to get out there and work. Right? Because the plumber ripped up the front yard when they changed the main line pipe, and because I didn't put everything back, even though it took me 4 years to sift through sand and gravel rocks and all that other crap, to lay down cement walkway to cover up the sand and the gravel rocks. It took me 4 years to do that, basically. Right? Plumber one day to rip it all up and scatter it all over the place and mix up the sand with the rocks into the gravel and landfill and just tossed everything around and moved. It was awful, people. And then I was expected to put everything back by myself as usual, and because I wasn't going fast enough at it, because, you know, I've got other things to do in the yard, and like, you know, I'm looking at these videos, and like, honest to God, like I said before in the past, I lived more in the yard than I did inside the house. I was watching a video where I was sitting there talking, and then all of a sudden I mentioned, did you see my nose just start to run water out of it? So my nose has been running since 2017, and that's what I can guesstimate at this point. Was it running in 2016 from working in all this fucking crud? Because that's all it's been as I'm watching these videos. Like, you don't even know how depressed I am. And through it all, you know, I put on a brave face. I gave it up, gave it my all, right? I was always complaining about being sore and, you know, from lifting and bending and just stretching and hauling and just putting in long hours, and day after fucking day, I'd take one day rest and try and do something productive inside, even though I felt like crap, to go back outside, because I had the whip on my back before the fucking city of Surrey even showed up. Right? You know, she's asking me to get out there, right? My landlady asked me to get out there and work on the... Just hold on a minute. Okay, so as I was saying, you know, I'd take a day break, be inside, sore, whatever, trying to be productive on the inside, thinking about having to work on the outside, because in the beginning of 2017, my landlord said, get out in the front and start working. And, you know, don't forget, I was working in the back and working on the side, working. Okay, so, all right, I get out there, right? And I'm working, and like, oh my God, I was working, and this is when I was dealing with court, right? Like, gang stalking is real, people. And because I was working so much in the yard, you know, I was having a difficult time following up with the court, as the, you know, Fraser Health was trying to get it dismissed from court and all this, but I had that whip on my back before the city even showed up, with my landlord saying, get out there and work. You need to clean up the yard. But while you're doing it, I want you to plant extra food this year, because I'm having drainage problems on my property and I can't plant a garden. I'm like, okay, right? Anything to please my landlord, because, you know, I had problems in the past with the city and all this other stupid shit, and always feeling insecure or whatever. And so now I'm having to dig up garden beds to accommodate, to plant more food, because, you know, right? That's what she asked for. Well, my property where I'm living, and don't forget, they used to come around, the landlords, and tell me it was my yard. My yard, my house. Do what you want. It's your yard, Judy. You do it. Okay? That's how they pawned it off on me. And when I realized what the hell was going on, I did what I thought I could do. And, you know, I spent money. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, so many hours, you can't even count them, to have plumbers come in one day and destroy 4 years worth of work to have my landlady come back however long later and say you didn't put it all back fast enough. You need to start putting, you need to work in the yard. But while you're doing it, plant some extra food because I have drainage problems and I can't plant anything. But yet my yard is full of freaking drainage problems. Leaking this, leaking, everything leaking, the porch leaking, the sheds that I was building, because, I was inexperienced. I tried to prevent leaks, but they were leaking and things were getting ruined and molding up and right? As I'm dealing with mud and grit and sand and gravel rocks and and I'm watching this, people, and I can't believe that I allowed this to happen to myself. But I had no choice, because if I didn't do it, I would have been kicked out. And I'd already put in so much time into the yard. And like I said, the kids didn't want to move, and Uncle John was medically kidnapped and I was broke. Plant a garden so I could have food. I started working I had the greenhouse built, but apparently I hadn't planted anything in it. But in 2017, that's when I decided to start trying to plant something in it, because I had no money. So I didn't have a choice. Even if I wanted to move, I couldn't, because I had no fucking money, because I was, what happened to Uncle John with the income dropping. And then I got stuck with all the bills, as my landlord is putting pressure on me to work in the yard, right? With no resources, no tools, nothing, right? And a big fucking mess. Oh my God. Let's listen to this for a minute. I'm so sick with this, you don't even know. And I feel so sick right now too, right? And all I can think about is, she wants me to go outside in the yard. The last time I spoke to her, which was just a few days ago when they took the bin, she literally wants me to go back outside in miserable weather and weed and finish tidying up what my son didn't do yet. She doesn't care about what's going on the inside. She doesn't care, in terms of, looking after Amari and, and having to do laundry and, right? You know what I'm saying? Right? Maybe, getting some rest for me. Nothing like that. She doesn't care about that. All she cares about is me getting outside and weeding something to make it look nice in wintertime. And whatever. And I'm having severe panic attacks because I just don't have the energy, right? I'm still trying to deal with the few things that I did manage to save from that bin in terms of washing and that kind of stuff, right? I'm slowly but surely picking away at laundry, right? And, I'm sick. And I'm watching these videos as I'm posting them into my playlist, and I'm getting sicker because I can't believe what I did and for what reasons I did it at the request of. And I was putting in long hours almost daily starting in April. I'm working in May right now, and guess what happened by June? The city showed up and put the whip on my back. I haven't even gotten to those videos yet. So I was already in the yard in April because my landlord said, get out there and work. Finish up cleaning up what the plumbers made a mess with. And that wasn't easy because I had to take that landfill, right, and sift out the rocks because I needed the rocks in order to lay the bricks. As I was buying cement and making, you get a piece of wood with 2x4s and you pour the cement in it, and right, I was making cement slabs because I had more land to cover up because they took out the playhouse from the front. She wouldn't let me have the playhouse in the front. So all of a sudden I had more ground to cover up the landfill with all the rocks and everything in it. Because when they came in with the backhoe, they just ripped everything up. Literally. After they moved a few things. Like the boulders and stuff and whatever. They moved them. But everything else got buried. My bricks got buried into the landfill. The sand and the gravel rocks under the bricks and whatever got all mixed up into the landfill. And they just left it. And she expected me to have that all fucking done in a very short period of time. And when it didn't happen, she came in April and said, you know, start working, right? And I had already been working, but not fast enough, right? Because I had other areas in the yard to work on, as well as trying to build sheds to get my stuff out of the elements, right? Because everything was getting ruined. Like every year, just things get ruined. This year, shit just got taken, right? It didn't get ruined. Well, some of it got ruined because it rained as it was in the bin. I'm sure some of it got ruined, but I got robbed, people, of $5,500 of my belongings, and that's just the bottom freaking line. And so you might as well consider that all ruined, minus the few little things that I managed to bring inside, like a child's easel, which I may end up giving to Rhea yet, right? You know what I'm saying? Right now it's just kind of like sticking out like a sore thumb. But, like, you know, I just might end up giving it to Rhea because I'm afraid to take it outside and put it anywhere right now. I am. I'm afraid to put it in the hen house area, right? I'm afraid to put it, like, underneath the steps. I don't know. I'm afraid. Literally afraid. I'm so afraid to live in this fucking house like you can't even imagine. As I'm sitting here shaking in my boots because I'm not outside fucking cleaning up the front after it's been basically gutted, as she's telling me to throw more planter pots with living things inside of them, right? And to weed in rain and soggy, muddy, gritty, cold weather. I don't get it, people. I just don't fucking get it. Because I look at these videos, I'm sorry, boo-boo, get it. Because I look at these videos, and when I say I gave up my life for that person, I'm not kidding. But I didn't realize how much she was dictating to me to do the things that I did, right? Because it was mainly her. Mr. Gill would always say, it's your yard. It's your house, your yard. You do what you think is best, right? And he kind of left it at that. And then as she was bugging me to work harder, he'd tell her sometimes to, you know, just calm down. Leave her alone. She's, you know, doing what she can, right? It was always her that was never satisfied and wanted miracles in a short period of time and put extra burden, pressure to, like I said, go outside, clean up the plumber's mess, work there, right? Not to mention everywhere else in the yard, right? And I'm looking at all these bins I had with weeds and rocks and, you know, and the city come here, oh, throw out the bins and too many bins. Yeah, well, I wonder why. Because if they weren't full of freaking roots from the ground, from the morning glory, or whatever other plant I was digging up to make a garden bed so I can plant food for my landlord, because she asked me to, because she was having drainage problems, but she wasn't helping me with my drainage problems, as I was working on my drainage problems, as well as cleaning up the mess that the plumber made, and I'm also out there digging and breaking the ground to plant food so that she could get her bounty, so that I could have a place to live. As my Mr. Gill's telling me, you know, it's your yard, your house, right? So, yeah, okay, in a kind of roundabout way, if that's the case, then, you know, you put your all into it. And I'm sitting and I'm realizing how bloody foolish I was. But I was stuck. You see, that's the thing, people. They had me by the nuts. They knew I had no money. Okay, I went, I don't know, like almost a year, half a year, 8 months, something like that. The only thing I ever bought when it came to food, I'd go to the corner store and I'd spend $1 on a potato, $2 on 2 potatoes, and $1 on an onion. and I'd buy bananas. Obviously, I was buying milk for Andre, but I did not buy any other kind of food for well over 6 months at one point, after Uncle John was medically kidnapped. And of course, I started racking up my credit cards, though, right? I went off to Home Depot and I bought wood and plywood and 2x4s to continue working on the shed, because Jerry was dragging it out, right? And finally, I just said, come on, Jerry, let's get this done. 3 years later, I need to get it done, right? So I had no choice but to go to Home Depot, right, to go and use my credit card to buy the plywood and whatnot, and the 2x4s and whatever it was that he needed in order to finish the shed up by the driveway in the back, right? To which my son gutted half of it at the request of the city to clear out a garage that we've been using for 14 years. All of a sudden, out of the blue, they want the garage empty. Well, geez, thanks, because all that did was throw out another $500 or more of my belongings. Well, no, it was more than that, people, because it was a lot of non-profit stuff, okay? Nobody had the right to do that. But what was my son supposed to do with the stuff in the garage without the shed? He had no place to put it, right? The city knew it. They did it with malice because, I'm telling you, they want to house an immigrant family, and they're trying to get these landlords to jump on board because they can make more money, right? So everybody's bribing each other with, through one means or another, right? Kick out Judy and you'll make $5,500 a month. We guarantee it, because we've got 100 freaking immigrant families on federal subsidies with the province and yada yada yada. That's money in the bank, right? And being that they're coming in from a country where they were blasted with bombs, they're gonna come here and they'll be willing to work like dogs for you in your yard, and they won't complain because they'll be happy that they're away from their war-torn country. While I'm in the middle of a minefield that's blowing off bombs left, right, and center, and nobody gives a rat shit about it, people. And that's racism, because I'm dealing with a lot of freaking brown people here, okay? And the few white people that fit into that fray, well, they don't want to be targeted, obviously, right? So they're gonna go with the flow, right? They're gonna do what they're told to do, because otherwise, if they don't and they stand up and they say something, they'll be targeted by the majority, okay? The majority is not Caucasians where I live, all right? I don't get it, people. I watch these videos and I'm getting so sick with it. And I'm starting to realize how I was manipulated to work in this yard. Whether it was my landlord saying, get out there and do it, or she would do it subtly by saying, I can't plant this year because I have drainage problems. Will you please plant extra food? So not only am I cleaning up the plumber's mess, but now she's got me busting up the ground to plant extra food for her because she can't plant food because of drainage problems, but yet she abandoned me with my drainage problems as they're telling me it's my yard, when in fact it wasn't. And technically, they should have helped me with the drainage problems and with proper storage problems. If they didn't like my shit out on the grass getting all gritty and dirty, well, you can see I was trying to build sheds. I was trying to build shelters. Clearly, I'm not, a man. Could have had somebody come by and help, but no. It was my yard. It was my house. I was expected to do everything by myself, and when I wasn't out there doing it hard enough, fast enough, long enough, she reminded me that I needed to get out there and freaking do it, and I did, because I had no place to go because of the gang stalking, right? Now, ShaMay hadn't been murdered at this point, right? But we already went through with what they did with Sierra. We already went through with what they did with Andre. And then they turned around and they took John. And it was one big cover up there, right? And like I said, $2 at the corner store for 2 fucking potatoes. and an extra $1 for an onion. That was my grocery shop for the month. Everything else that we ate was in the house. That's how broke I was. But eventually I just started using my credit cards. I had no choice. And I'm still using my credit cards. And I'm borrowing $2,000, maybe up to $2,000 on my personal loan, maxing it out at $20,000 for blood money. Yeah, for blood money. And to feel unsafe, right? To worry about when you're going to be attacked next, right? Because you know it's coming, because that's what it's been happening. Because I won't be able to perform. I won't be able to perform. I couldn't perform when I was healthy and I could see, because it's too much. It's too extreme, right? It requires more than one person. But now that the majority of the work is done and the sheds are made, right, with two of them that don't leak, okay? One does. The other one in the front is, you know, whatever. But the one in the back and the other one, they don't leak. Right? The porch never got, like, oh my God, people, let's just listen to this for a minute.
This is not what I'm...
And that's another thing. I'm out there working in cold weather, right? All hours of the day, right? And Andre's with me a lot of the time. Right? I mean, what kind of quality life is that when you're always out in the fucking fields, sorry, boo-boo fields, with your children? Isn't that what happens to poor people when they're living in these god-awful countries and they're forced to work outside, scrounging around for this and scrounging around for that, and landfills and dump, where they deposit garbage and shit like that, and people take their kids out there sifting through the garbage looking for plastic to recycle so that they can have a little bit of money to eat. Well, that's kind of how I see this as I'm watching this, because he's out there with me all the time, right? Because I had to work in the yard. You see, that was the thing. I couldn't even work on the lawsuit because I was told to go outside and work. And when I did work outside, people, I started in April, and I'm watching these videos, and I'm out there regularly. If I'm not in the back, I'm in the front. If I'm not on the front, I'm on the side. What?
Pair of sandwiches.
Okay, well, let me finish this. All right? Let me in a minute, okay? And you right? And then as I look up as my videos, right? In June, the city showed up. I haven't gotten to those videos yet. Yeah. And I guess I wasn't working enough. Even though the videos proved that I was. Because they had to put the whip on my back to make me work harder, put in longer hours, more days. Because it was extreme, extensive yard work. It was unreasonable. I didn't realize it at that time, how unreasonable it was, because I had no choice. It was a game of survival. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't have survived. I'm busy. Thank you.
Some of it's not changed, but you can just keep it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. 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 That's great. Yeah. Yeah. Like, why? Right? Clearly, they could see I was out there working. They're driving by all the time. But it wasn't enough. Interesting, eh? Interesting how it wasn't enough. Well, hold on a minute. Let's just start and listen to this for a second.
Looking forward to, people.
Okay, do you hear me coughing? With my nose running and everything? I wonder why. Because it was always in the dirt. I didn't realize my nose has been running like that since 2017. I thought it only happened in the last couple of years. It's amazing how you forget these things. No, seriously. Right? I'm watching a video, and then all of a sudden my nose started to run from 2017, and that's what I said. Oh my God, did you just see what happened? My nose started to run because of what I was doing in April. I worked in April, I worked in March. Oh, wait, no, April, May. I started, I think, in April, and then now I'm in May. So April, May, yeah. And then I was just sitting there, and then all of a sudden my nose started to run. And I said, oh my God, did you just see what happened? My nose was running. Yeah. And that's because I was working in the yard at the request of my landlady to clean up the plumber's mess, as well as everything else that I was doing out there, in addition to planting extra food. So I got a double whammy without even catching the clue that I got a double whammy. So here, I'm getting the garden bed ready to plant food for my landlady. Right? Trying to convince myself that I'm blessed to be able to plant food for myself. But the urgency was for the landlady to keep her happy, right? In terms of, not getting kicked out, because, I've already had, like I said, I had the city. In one video, I said they had me in the yard for a year. Yeah, 10 months at least, and I think I got a 2-month reprieve when the snow and shit came. 10 months, people. In the video, I said for a whole year. Right? So this guy that's running around saying, no, you only got 2 weeks, that's bullshit. I got videos to prove that I was out there for 10 months with the city's whip on my back. With Sook. So, because I had already done that, I didn't want them coming back. And I even mentioned it in the video. I'm working now because, I don't want them coming back. Right? Sure, they came back anyway.
No one does.
So here, yeah, I'm having to dig up these god-awful roots from a plant that was coming from the neighbors. You can see the chain link fence. Right? With the morning glory roots and everything. Right? Because, I only had so many places. This is how the garden beds got made. So when they advertise garden beds, this is the beginning stages of those garden beds. And I spend hours and hours and hours. I seen a bucket full of nothing but roots, like a bin. The bin that the city of Surrey wanted me to throw out was full of roots that I had to dig deep in to get out in order to be able to make garden beds so I could plant food maybe for myself as well as for my landlady. But before I could do that, I'd have to sift out the rocks and do whatever. So if I wasn't sifting out rocks here, I was sifting rocks up where the plumbers screwed everything over. Right? Not to mention what I was doing in the back. Like, it's pathetic, people.
Every day, people.
Yeah, every day. Every day. It sounds like I was out in the yard almost every day. Why? Because my landlady said, get out and work. And while you're out there, plant me some food. Because I have drainage problems. But we're not going to talk about your drainage problems. You fix it because it's your yard. It's your house, so you fix it. And that's what I tried to do. And look how I get treated for it.
Every day is something. This is probably why my body hurts.
Yeah, and these videos, that's all I'm saying. Almost every third video, my body hurts, my body hurts, my body hurts, my body hurts. Well, I wonder why. Well, we know why.
Right.
This is why I went blinder faster, people. There was many times I needed to get to the eye doctor, but I couldn't because I had to forfeit looking after myself to keep up with the demand of the yard through intimidation and threats and fear with the city. Yeah.
But before I turned on this camera, I'm thinking to myself, who would be happy?
See, I'm trying to justify it, right? I'm minimalizing the abuse that I was experiencing as I was being exploited in this yard without seeing it for what it is, but it wouldn't have mattered. Even if I did see it, I would have still ignored it because I had no money. I couldn't go anywhere, right? Because I was being attacked from a different angle, right? Like I said, Sierra, Andre, and then John. And then soon after John, what happened? ShaMay got murdered. ShaMay got murdered on April 11th of 2017 by Julian Johnson. This is May 22nd of 2017. She hadn't been murdered yet, but she was by April, and John was medically kidnapped in January, basically from the moment he showed up at the hospital. And his sister got wind of it because I phoned and let them know that he was there. And she put a lockdown on him because she was holding that inheritance that he had that he didn't know about. And then she conspired to medically kidnap him. And she got away with it, which put me into a financial hole because I got stuck with everything. And I had to submit. That's what I'm doing. I'm submitting. And I'm trying to smooth it over by saying, well, at least I get to have free food, being that I can't afford to buy it. Because I said that in other videos in this time period. Yeah. Like, it's terrible. It makes me feel so ill watching these videos. Coming into full realization of what was actually really going on and not being able to do anything about it. What do you want?
Huh?
Oh, just let me finish.
Right? In terms of being able to grow your own food without pesticides.
And that's another thing. First couple of years after I got everything going, I could grow food. But the gang stalking took a whole new level. Next thing you know it, my plants are being poisoned. My trees were being poisoned, right? I'd go outside and my purple lilac tree, somebody poisoned it and killed it, right? Somebody was killing my black walnuts and they were stealing my potatoes and shit. And it got to the point where I just don't want to plant anything out there. My landlady's still asking me to plant. I don't want to, and besides, I can't. All my bean poles and shit are gone. I can't. I'm not going to go buy new bean poles. Fuck no. No way. They took my branches because sometimes I used to use branches for tomatoes or whatever. They took everything. Forget it. And besides, it's not safe anyway. And if I do plant something like those beans that I've got. In that bag that I showed you a few videos back. I mean, I don't expect them to survive. I don't. If they're not going to be robbed after they grow, like, who knows what people are putting into the dirt, because there's, like, just gang stalking is real. Like, seriously.
Of any kind. Right? And to have a variety of dirt of all kinds. Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to justify it and trying to see the bright side of it. You know, that's when they say people take your kindness as a weakness, right? My landlady used to tell me that I was one of the nicest people that she ever met. Well, if that's the case, what happened? You can't use your yard against me when you didn't help me with it, just so that you can justify that you don't think that I'm a nice person anymore. When that's all she used to say to me, oh, you're such a nice person. I've never met such a nice person as you. Because I cared about her, right? You know, I nurtured her, the child in her. Right? You want me to grow extra food? No problem, Mrs. Gill. I'll grow extra food. Be free. Right? That comes from a genuine heart. Right? I didn't do it because I was looking for brownie points or anything like that. I just didn't realize at the time how I was being manipulated to do it. Watching the videos now, though, I can see I was being manipulated, right? But besides that point,
I mean, that's...
we have a few good years in there, a few good memories, you know, but as things were being robbed and things were being poisoned and, you know, and stupid shit like that, I just stopped planting, right? And she couldn't figure it out. Instead, I was just building up the dirt, right? And then tarping it over with landscaping paper, like landscaping fabric, right? Just because. At least I know the dirt underneath it, underneath the landscaping fabric is good if I wanted to plant. But I'd be reluctant to plant because I can't trust the neighborhood. Because there's too many gang stalkers that get off on destroying things or stealing things. Yeah. One way or another. If they're not stealing your food, they're stealing your belongings, for crying out loud.
That's the bright
And then they make you pay for it.
side of it, right? So, I got up into that compost, speaking of dirt, and there's some...
So you see me picking rocks, right? That's all I've been doing all these years is picking rocks out of stupid dirt.
really, really nice dirt
Or landfill.
in there. After all these years, right? It's like the mother lode now.
Yeah.
I'm just getting the ground ready. After I'm done, I'm going to... Oh. See, you gotta get in deep, right? Sometimes. That's that marrow root.
Yeah, pulling out roots. That's all I did.